Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
The atheists lose their challenge to the 9/11 Memorial Cross. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Shawn Akers, vice president of Middle Eastern Affairs for Liberty Counsel. Shawn, the American atheists filed suit against this memorial, essentially a 9/11 cross. It's the crossbars of the iron that was left after the 9/11 disaster and a terror attack in New York. They said that this was an establishment of religion. This was going to be put in a museum, and an explanation was going to be stated regarding this particular cross. They said it's an establishment of religion. The good news is the district court, so far the first level of the court, has said that's ridiculous. It doesn't establish a religion, and ruled against the American atheist.
You know, the American atheist in this case, Matt, said some relatively hateful things. One of the arguments that they made was that the cross should be removed because it was religion that brought down the Twin Towers. I find it ironic.
It wasn't Christianity or Judeo-Christianity that brought down the Twin Towers, that's for sure.
No, it wasn't. And in fact, if you think about the irony of what they're saying, is that one religion or extremists from a particular religion brought down the Twin Towers, but the atheists are coming in to finish the job. There's one thing left, the one thing that was left standing that gave hope, that gave inspiration to the people on 9/11. I remember watching it on television that, miraculously this perfect cross survived and people got hope from that. But now these atheists have come in and literally file charges to try to bring this thing down. Now, I think what you'll find, Matt, you know this area of the law better than probably anybody else in the United States, and this looks to me like a fundraising appeal by the American atheists, much more than a legitimate challenge.
I think so, too, and obviously they've gotten attention by this particular lawsuit. We all remember after 9/11, we remember that tragedy, and remember the hope that sprung from this crossbeam. It was the iron work that was left, and it was a perfect replication of a cross. And the workers there, the rescuers, they lifted it up, and we remember the President of the United States, George W. Bush, speaking with that cross in the background and all the firefighters that were around the cross. And it was a symbol of hope. And they kept it up there as they were cleaning up the refuge and the rubble from the 9/11 attack. And now this 17-foot cross is going to be part of a museum that the museum's purpose is to tell the history surrounding September 11. And also it'll tell the cross and the story of the cross, how it was discovered and what happened. The American Atheist out of New Jersey filed suit in 2011 against the planned presentation of the cross-shaped beam, arguing that it imposes religion through the power of the state. This is absolutely absurd. The good news is that the federal judge, Deborah Batts, concluded that the cross, which became a spiritual symbol for the workers, at ground zero did not amount to an establishment of religion and did not amount to an endorsement of Christianity.
Thank goodness that common sense made its way into this ruling. But Matt, it does raise the alarm yet again on something you and I have talked about several times. It's that there is this push and this misunderstanding of what the Constitution requires and doesn't require that leads people to believe any mention of religion, even the accidental formation of a cross, or if you believe that even God himself caused that to be a form of hope communicated to the people. Regardless, it wasn't government speaking. We've literally gotten to the place where people have bought in to this idea, some people have bought into this idea, that if it so much as looks like it reflects God, the federal government is under some kind of mandate to eradicate it. It's simply not the case.
No, that turns the First Amendment, free exercise of religion, that government shall not interfere with the free exercise of religion, on its head. It essentially puts the government into a collision course with religion, that if there's anything that looks religious, particularly Judeo-Christian or Christian, then the government has to eradicate it, has to remove it, that it becomes disabled. Instead of having a First Amendment that protects religious freedom and religious expression, you have a First Amendment that's being used to eradicate the very protection that it was designed to ultimately afford American citizens.
Matt, we have very successfully gone into an age of religious McCarthyism, where we are seeking out religion as a nation to eradicate it in very forthright ways. And this particular case is one of the more astounding because nobody put that cross together on purpose. What they did was recognize that it was a symbol that gave them hope. And for this group to do this, like I said, thank goodness we've got some common sense in the judicial process on this particular case because it does look like more of a chance to bring attention to the American atheist of New Jersey than it does to make any substantive
even some atheists
comment.
themselves objected and spoke against the American atheist of New Jersey when they filed the lawsuit. Susan Jacoby, she's an atheist contributor to the Washington Post. She described the group as having, quote, an unerring nose for the scent of publicity, close quote. She said their suit is, quote, nonsense, and that their leader was obtuse. So obviously she has an opinion about this as well. Obviously not every atheist agrees with the American atheist, and the good thing is that the court most particularly didn't agree. Now, the American atheists of New Jersey are going to appeal this, so it's going to go to a higher court, but I think the decision ultimately should remain the same. You never know because you're dealing with judges, and judges don't always follow the rule of law, the Constitution. But, you know, America was founded on the foundation that there is a God. That made America different than France. The French Revolution was founded on the idea that there is no God. The American Revolution was founded on the idea that there is a God. And the two fundamental differences of worldview shaped two different countries. America, because there is a God, government was established to protect God-given pre-existing liberties. In France, because there is no God, the liberties and rights come only from those in power, and they can be changed at any time. There are no unalienable rights. And so the French Revolution was symbolized by the guillotine, went through multiple revolutions and multiple constitutions. The American Revolution was symbolized as a nation of hope, the city on a shining hill. And that was because of the different fundamental foundation in the belief that there is a God that gives us liberty.
You know, Matt, I've said it often that if you get an answer to that question, what, do you believe that man was created in the image of God, that there is a God and that he created man, or that there wasn't, you come to an entirely different set of logical but-for connections, causal connections that lead to entirely different policies. And what made America great, this is what you've pointed out several times, is that when you act one way with the laws of nature and nature's God, it reaps a reward. If you plant seed and it's watered appropriately, then it grows and produces a bumper crop. If you ignore the seed and pretend it's not there, it doesn't matter whether you say you believe in the laws of nature and nature's God or not. If you plant it in concrete, it's not going to come up. And that's really what we see as a nation trying to make up its mind. Are we going to leave the things that made us great and say that man is the be-all, end-all, that man decides what's alienable and inalienable, or are we going to be humble and acknowledge that there is a God and that he endowed man with certain unalienable rights?
Well, the atheists would want to go to the model of the French Revolution.
That's right.
And that means that our rights are insecure. There's no foundational eternal rights. They are simply at the whim of the elected officials. They're at the whim of the voting body. And yet life and liberty, these freedom issues, they don't depend upon a show of hands. It is not a popularity contest. These issues are fundamental, they're foundational, and government has to protect them. And why do we have these symbols that we have around the country? In Washington, D.C., you can't go through Washington, D.C. without referring to religious symbols and reading religious quotes. The Jefferson Memorial has 3 of the 4 quotes from Jefferson speaking about God. It's because the Christian, Judeo-Christian worldview permeated the very thinking of the founders, and it was those ideas that ultimately birthed the America that we enjoy today.
Matt, we're definitely entering into an area that we've got the chance to speak up on these things, though. We've got the opportunity. Even in New York, the place that has tried to outlaw the big gulp, you see support for common sense on an issue like this.
And that's good news. Go to Liberty Counsel's website, order the book, The New England Primer. If somebody talks about separation of church and state, bring them the book, The New England Primer. For the first 200 years of American education, this book was taught in American schools up through the early 1900s. For a contribution of only $7 plus shipping and handling, we'll send this book to you right away. Along with the ABCs, the children in school learned biblical ideas and biblical verses. You'll be fascinated by this little book called The New England Primer. It is a piece of history that you must have in your library. Ask for the New England Primer. Call 1-800-671-1776 or order it online at Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.